So I geeked out in yesterday's video maybe a little bit too much. Maybe it was a bit too serious. So I'm gonna dial it back today a little bit. Top three countries I visited in my 20s. I've been lucky to visit a lot of different countries, especially while being in college. This is like a highlighted map. I've been to all or six of the continents if you don't count Antarctica down there, but I guess six out of the seven continents. And yeah, I've had fun in a lot of them. And most of the time, I used to live in Japan, so I got to travel to all these countries that are over here as well during that time. I think this is like one region. This would, Europe is obviously another. The Americas over here, and I guess parts of the Middle East and one portion of Africa, I guess. It's a long story, I'd say, for another video about how that ended up happening. But yeah, I'm grateful to have been able to travel to all these parts, and I'm going to share with you, based on, I guess, these three categories is kind of how I want to see it. Because I haven't lived in all of them, so obviously visiting as a tourist is very different from living there. I'm sure you all know that. Um, so I'm going to base it off three factors based on just my experience there. And for reference, in all of these places that I have been to, I have stayed at least 1 week or longer in each of them, visiting at least two cities at a minimum throughout all of these sort of places that I've been, at least 1 week. So that's what I classify as visiting. If I have a layover or anything, that's not really like visiting, right? You kind of just been to the airport. So let's go over. Okay, well, you guys are just gonna see all of them, but let's go with the first one. So Iceland. So I'm kind of like a nature person. I like hiking. I like exploring. I like adrenaline rushing stuff, right? So Iceland was kind of like really cool for me. I didn't even know you could visit Iceland. I had actually like only heard of Greenland, and then I saw people talking about the Golden Circle and the Northern Lights. I'm like, oh shit, that'd be pretty cool. So there really is only like one or two big towns in all of Iceland. It's not really that big. If you like hiking and scenery, that's the place for you. It's not really like always very like snowy or like how people think about it when they think like you go super north. It's always going to be like snowing and there's all these like crazy creatures and shit like that. Like that's not really how it is. It's really just super cold. But yeah, if you like very quiet rural life, you should go there. You should go hike around. You can live alone or with your family in solitude. The issue with that is that it's super expensive. I think Iceland is the most expensive country I've visited. I went broke, uh, doing everything like renting a car, going to lodging, etc. That's just not because of just tourism or anything. It's just Iceland is an expensive and isolated country to live in, super freezing, and it's isolated from most of the West. I mean, there are flights coming from the US there, but most of the time the flights are directed outwards towards Europe. It's not really people coming from the US. So the flights can be a little bit isolated, and so you have to really plan out your time there. And of course, the weather is also an issue, right? Hey, you probably saw this coming from my first few sentences, but I really like Japan as well. I lived there. I studied there for around 7 months or so. I think the good things about it, if you have been there before, you probably know a lot of these. Is one, their public transport is really good. You don't have to have a car or anything. There are trains that run through each of the islands, and it goes through, and they're really fast. They have super fast bullet trains. It's also like a very good hub access. So the Narita Airport is basically the first airport that you can go to or you land in if you're coming from the U.S. So that's a really good way to either go back to the U.S. or connect to, I don't know, other places like Australia, Malaysia, wherever it may be you want to go. So for that reason, I think it's super convenient. I guess I didn't really use this sort of like chart over here that I said I was going to use. Let me drag this down here real quick, and so I can reference it because yeah, I think that's like a fair assessment to make here. All right, let me go back to Iceland real quick though. Livable, not really that livable if you like, I don't know, being isolated. I guess that might make you a bit sad. Things to do if you like, I guess like hiking. I guess you can't really get over that. It's always super cool to see the northern lights and go around the circle. And Iceland is still like, I mean, it's not huge, but it's still pretty big and like rugged terrain to go around. So I guess that's the thing to do. The cultural, the people are super nice. The culture, I didn't really get too much about. I don't really have much to comment about it, but yeah. In general, just Iceland is just a super nice place to just see with your eyes. You have to go there. Okay. So Japan, yeah, hospitality of people. People are always super nice there, and they're super dedicated. Like they do their work, or whatever it is that they do, like to 110%, and they put a lot of effort into everything that they do to make it the best. Like I remember seeing a commercial, about how a company increased their, what was it, their ice cream by like 3 cents for the first time in like 3 decades or something like that. And they made a whole ad apologizing and bowing their heads and stuff. So yeah, really committed to that portion. The varied geographic regions. So we have like up north they have Hokkaido, which is like the snowy region, and then towards the west they have like Kyushu, which is more like, rural and a lot of hiking, and then you have like the corridor, the Tokaido corridor, I think it's called, which is like the Osaka, the Kyoto, the Tokyo, like all those places, right? The most famous ones, and so I think that's a good. And you have like mountains up north, and all that stuff. So I think it's a good variance of geography that goes around. It's not always raining. You could go somewhere where you can go skiing, but you can also go towards the west where it's a lot more rural, stuff like that. So, and the food is just, I can never get over the food. I always find something new that I tried there. Yeah, I don't know. 7-Elevens there are also pretty they outmatch American 7-Elevens by a long shot. So yeah, what are the bad things? I thought about this a lot when I came back. The work culture there really sucks. You get pushed to your limit. You don't get paid a lot. You get paid a lot more when you're more senior, regardless of your experience. So if you want to work there, probably not the best place. Social culture is super different. They have a different perspective. Like dating culture is different. Cheating, like making friends, like who should you stay friends with, like your social image matters there a lot, and like who you hang out with. I mean, in America it is to an extent, but some like here they care a lot less, but in Japan it matters a lot more how their public image is, because there's like elitism. um, there's like the honor of like your family name and stuff like that. So yeah, they're also like cracking down, like their discrimination policies are like against foreigners and stuff like that. As of recently, they're known for being like a lot more conservative. I think a sad thing is like the rural dying areas as well. When I would go into like the countryside, I was obviously like people would give me looks. They'd be like, "What are you doing here?" sort of thing. But a lot of people are moving out and the houses are going up for sale and they're super cheap, but it's just sad to see like that portion of Japan is like slowly fading away as like the older generation dies out. So I don't really like that. It's not really it's like a good but a bad sort of thing, in the sense that like I don't like to see culture and history sort of like fade, but as with time that's kind of how it goes. This is not necessarily a bad thing, but if you consider like moving there, especially if you move to a rural area, I would say it's pretty much necessary to learn the language. With other countries, they speak English and another language or something like that. But I think with Japan, expect that nobody knows a lick of English, which is like not a bad thing, right? It's their country, they speak Japanese, right? So yeah, livable, definitely livable. Things to do, there are a lot of things to do. um, so many different cities. It's a lot bigger than Iceland, right? The culture, yeah, very different. It's like that's just Asian culture, right? That's not anything like Americans or like North American, South American, whatever it may be. Scenery, there's like 3 different main regions, and they're all very different. So yeah, you just have to check it out for yourself. This one might come as a surprise, maybe. If there are any Australians and you disagree with me, I would love to hear you in the comments, but I don't think I have any Australians, but maybe in the future, right? Um, I really like Australia. I went there for 2 weeks. I The first week I was in, I was bouncing between Sydney and Canberra. Correct me if I'm wrong how to say it. And then I went to Melbourne. So I basically drove down to Melbourne from Sydney essentially, and that was like a road trip. And then I went to Melbourne, and then I did for like 5 days. I drove along the Great Ocean Road, which is like a road that is very famous there. That is a nice scenic ride, and I slept in a camper van basically for those days. And then I went up north to Cairns. I can never pronounce it, and I went scuba diving in the Great Barrier Reef, and then I left. That was super fun. I met a lot of friends. Like I would literally just pick up like backpacker friends that I still text and know today that I met there, and some people like even after, like I met some friends in South Korea and Japan and Vietnam. So that was super cool. So like they come to Australia to come work sometimes on like working holiday, and then they leave. So that was a pretty unique thing. I did not know like working holiday was a thing. I did not know. I learned a lot about like the coral reefs. In school, you're like you hear about, oh, the coral reefs is dying and stuff, and yeah, it definitely is. They're definitely doing stuff to help it out. I could definitely see it there. So that was like interesting because I took a lot of marine biology classes in high school, and yeah, I heard about it, but then when you go see it, it's like, oh, yeah, that's really how it is. And that portion of the Great Barrier Reef is a lot of it's really like swampy or muddy actually, which is very interesting. But yeah, Australia has amazing scenery. I think the similarity between the US and Australia is that it's a good mix of cultures and food. Like we have like American food, but there's only really limited options because we are like a melting pot. And Australia is the same. They have a lot of like Arabic food. They have a lot of like Asian food. They have a lot of like just general like food items that you would consider American, but like the origins of them are not really American, right? They have a fair amount of large cities and good universities, a lot of history as well. I mean, Australia is just so big. There's so many different, I don't know, places to travel to. Although I guess like some of the bad things about it is like the center area. So this like big center area. You can't see my mouse, but this center area here in Australia is basically a dead zone. There's nothing there. So most of your time is going to be spent around the water where all the cities are. And then you have to drive everywhere basically, or fly from city to city is what most people do, which basically like the prices of that is always going to relatively be up to the Qantas, which is like the main, I guess, like airline in Australia that connects you to places, and the housing prices are super high apparently. Um, yeah, I just heard I was talking to some students there that go to school in Sydney. They're like, yeah, housing prices are out of control, and apparently this has been like a long running thing. So yeah, livable, definitely livable. The housing kind of sucks though, but I think like the cities in general are pretty like manageable and pretty like enjoyable to walk around. Things to do just varies by city, and I think there's a lot of hiking and there's a lot of driving that you can do to go see like scenery. The culture, I think, there's not really like too much Australian culture per se. I think the culture is just a mix, like melting pot, like America is. People are super nice. A thing that I know is like Australian people, or at least Australian guys, were super tall. I did not think I saw like one short Australian guy, so that was like pretty cool, or pretty interesting. And then yeah, scenery. There's a lot of national parks. Australia is super big. There's a lot of. I mean, as the outback is like a dead zone, there's still a lot of like hiking and stuff to do, even though it's super flat. And yeah, that's top three countries that I think I've been to. Let me know what countries you visited in the comments below.